Sleep is critical to our mental health, physical health, emotional resilience, our ability to tolerate and deal with stress, and even our quality of life. But most people in this modern world struggle with their sleep, both being able to fall asleep, stay asleep, wake up feeling rested. So, in this video, we're going to talk about 6 fairly low hanging fruit, some action items that you can take away and implement in your life that can help you to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling more rested. If you're new here, my name is Keith. And after going through my own challenges with mental health issues, drug addiction, and some underlying chronic physical health issues, I now work with men to help them take control of their mental and physical health because they're two sides of the same coin through nutrition, movement, and lifestyle so that they can live their lives more fully. All right, so sleep. Sleep is such an important component of life, and it's something that I think we largely undervalue in this world because it's free, and we tend not to value things that we don't have to pay for. And I like to say that if sleep came in a capsule form, everybody would be taking the maximum dose because sleep is so powerful. It has such a mood boosting effect. It again tends to be one of the best preventatives for developing mental health issues. It's very healing when we do have mental or physical health issues that we're dealing with. But it is the most powerful natural medicine that we have, I think you could say. And sleep is something that is close, near and dear to my heart, let's say. When I was growing up and for a lot of my life, I really struggled with my sleep. And despite going to like sleep professionals to try to help that, they weren't really able to. But it wasn't until I started to understand and implement various things, some of which I'm going to share with you here, some of the top ones, that I was able to completely change my sleep issues to being able to fall asleep really well, stay asleep throughout the night, and to wake up feeling more rested. And to know why when I don't sleep well, or to know when I don't sleep well, why that is and how to correct it so that it doesn't keep going. And that's very empowering, I think. And, I think a lot of people get stuck into thinking that they have sleep issues when really they have lifestyle issues, and they just, those imbalances just manifest in poor sleep. So what I would encourage you to think about, and what you're going to see as we go through these action items, is that poor quality sleep often just reflects things throughout the day that are out of balance or needs that aren't being met. And that doesn't mean, sometimes we're just not going to have a great night's sleep. It doesn't mean that it's perfect. But what we're aiming for is to set ourselves up that as much as possible with the things that we can control, that's in line so that we can get that, restorative quality sleep. So the first habit, the first action item to improving sleep quality is to get outside first thing in the morning when you wake up and get out in the natural light, get out in the sunlight. And this could be for as little as 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, even as little as 2 or 3 minutes, really. But 5 minutes, I think, is a good aim. Or if you have the time to go for a walk in the morning, I think that's one of the best, maybe the best starting habit to, like, a lifestyle habit for improving mental health that also has a huge carryover into our physical health. But regardless, just getting out in the sun for a few minutes, what that does is light is information, to our bodies. Our bodies and brains, our skin, our eyes are all designed to interact with light. And getting sunlight in the morning tells our brain and our bodies that it's time to get those daytime processes started, meaning our wake up hormones telling ourselves that it's daytime, it's time to go. But it also plays a big role in our release of melatonin at night. So getting that early morning natural light is part of what sets up the timing for our release of melatonin, which is what helps us to get tired, to fall asleep, and stay asleep, to get quality sleep. But melatonin also plays a big role in our brain's ability to clean itself. That's something that ideally happens when we're sleeping, that when, these lifestyle factors are jacked up, often doesn't. And that plays a big role in our brain function, our cognitive functioning, and our mental health. So getting morning light as a takeaway, 5 minutes outside, even if it's cloudy, just, facing the direction of the sun. And it's important to distinguish that this is significantly different than looking at the light on a cell phone or on a computer. When we start our day looking at artificial light, let's say, especially if we're sitting there staring at it, maybe checking the time or something is one thing, but especially when we're sitting there staring at it, this causes a drastic rise in our daytime, our stress hormones, cortisol. Whereas seeing the sunlight starts a very gradual process. And this is why, in addition to many other benefits, getting out in the sun tends to help with our energy. It tends to help with reducing stress throughout the day, and it tends to help with sleep and boosting mood. The second component or second action item is to think about getting in movement throughout the day. So even most people who consider themselves active and, into fitness and things like that, far too often fall into just getting in like a 45-minute or 60-minute workout a few times spread throughout the week at a particular time of the day, when really what we need is to be moving all throughout the day. Ideally, when we get up, this could be when you're outside. A lot of this stuff can be stacked, and that's part of building these habits in sustainably in a way that they can work synergistically. But getting in movement in the morning when you're outside, sitting in a squat, doing a few air squats or lunges or push-ups or something, waking up the body, just moving. But also thinking throughout the day, especially if you do work that is, fairly sedentary, that you get up, in little spurts, get up for 20 or 30 seconds and do some push-ups or lunges or squats, or when you walk to the bathroom, do lunges. If you're familiar with original strength movements, do some dead bugs or crawl around or cross crawl while standing up. But all of these things not only are going to help with sleep, they help with our concentration, they help with our energy. And just sprinkling it in throughout the day can be something that doesn't have to interfere with, our duties and responsibilities, but that over the course of a day, and especially multiple days, a week, a month, like, you get an infinite amounts more of exercise and movement than if you just think about that as something of when you're going to the gym. And in addition to what I just said, those kind of movement snacks, as some would call it, I think walking is super, super important. And there are studies showing that 30 minutes, as little as 30 minutes of moderate exercise, which could be like a brisk walk, but and probably even a regular walk, help to improve both the ability to fall and to stay asleep. So there's a direct correlation between movement and our sleep quality. But moving throughout the day, it's such a good habit. It can be so boosting for mood as well, in addition to helping with sleep, help with digestion. There's, all of these things, again, have multiple benefits. You're getting a big bang for your buck with, fairly simple changes or habits. The third one is to balance blood sugar. And this is important because when we don't, it tends to cause an excessive release of stress hormones, let's say, as a result of the imbalanced blood sugars, of going low, going high. Not good for a lot of reasons, but when our stress hormones are up and down throughout the day, when our blood sugar is up and down throughout the day, let's just stick to that, it tends to lead to drop in blood sugar while we're sleeping. So a lot of times the reason that people wake up at, especially like 2 or 4 in the morning, but it can be anytime, it's usually because our blood sugar drops low. And in order to get it back up, our body needs to release cortisol and adrenaline, and that wakes us up. Those are our daytime stimulating hormones. Those are our go hormones to some degree. So balancing our blood sugar throughout the day helps to ensure that both when we're, that our stress hormones aren't elevated all day, which can just keep us up and mess with various things anyway, but that we can fall asleep properly, and that our blood sugar is not fluctuating throughout our sleep, causing interruptions and preventing quality sleep. So in order to do that, there are two principles that I think, apply to most people that tend to be very simple. Again, not always easy. There are other dietary strategies that are, appropriate in the right context. But for most people, thinking about eating every 3 hours at a minimum. But if you feel super hungry before then, that's a sign that what you ate before is likely not working and that you should eat something. But every 3-ish hours, for some people, it might be a little longer or a little shorter. And to have each meal or snack be balanced. So roughly every 3 hours, a snack or meal containing proteins, carbs, and fats, something balanced, not just eating a bunch of fruit or a bunch of bread or a candy bar, something that has like sustenance, that has some balance, that can take a little bit of planning and thinking about it, but it doesn't have to be hard. But it can go such a long way. And this, again, helps a lot with energy and will help significantly with mood throughout the day. A lot of mood and energy issues are related to imbalanced blood sugar. The fourth component here is to cut off caffeine by 3 p.m. And if you're somebody who struggles with sleep, giving extra attention to caffeine is probably worthwhile anyway. Not overdoing it, considering drinking like half decaf, half regular. Most people like that's what I usually do. You tend to still get the same benefits from that. A lot of us need a lot less caffeine than we consume or think we do. But cutting it off by 3 p.m. specifically, caffeine has a 6 to 8 hour half-life. So that means if you had let's say a strong cup of coffee at 3, it would take 6 to 8 hours. That can vary depending on like genetics and organ function and things like that. But 6 to 8 hours for half of that to exit your system. So if it had 120 milligrams of caffeine, let's say you're on the higher end, 8 hours later would be 11 p.m. You would still have half of that functioning in your system. Even if you can fall asleep, it's still going to impact your quality of sleep. So it's something to be mindful of. And I'm going 3 p.m. A lot of people are drinking caffeine into 6, 7, 8 at night sometimes. And that just really, like, there's no way around it, especially if you're sensitive. Like, it's going to throw off quality of sleep, especially over time, and really contribute to burning out, lacking motivation, lacking energy, etc. The fifth thing is to stay hydrated throughout the day. I will put statistics up. I forget it off the top of my head, and I don't want to take the time to look, but dehydration, or like, I think it's a quote that I have, but dehydration can very much affect sleep quality. So hydrating throughout the day, water with a pinch of sea salt in each glass or bottle, avoiding chugging a bunch of water around sleep, because that can, disrupt your sleep if you're waking up excessively to pee. But just staying hydrated throughout the day can help us to sleep properly at night. So you should aim for, as a general rule of thumb, about half of your body weight in ounces of water spread throughout the day. More if you're sweating a lot or, outside a lot or whatever. That's just a general rule of thumb. And adding a pinch of sea salt for the minerals, as that tends to be, or, that tends to enhance the hydration. The sixth one is avoiding screens at night. And this one is so simple, but it's really hard for most people. But again, when it's sort of the reverse of our morning sunlight, when we're staring at screens at night, we're giving our brains a confusing signal that it's daytime. The light on our phones and TV screens and whatnot mimic, for the most part, midday sun. So when we're taking this in, we're signaling to our brain that, like, oh, it's actually not nighttime right now. And it can mess with our sleep. It can mess with a lot of things. Like light at night is a very interesting topic. If you have interest in this stuff in general, you can go down to light at night connecting to diabetes, to cancer. It's really, you wouldn't expect it, but subtly, the way that we interact with light at night has a big role in our overall health, our mental and physical health, ability to stay well, and prevent chronic disease. But if you need to be on your screens for one reason or another, getting blue light blocking glasses, using like the Flux, F.lux on a computer, the night shift on a phone, it definitely doesn't go all the way. It's a little bit of a mitigation. It's better than nothing, but I think good blue light blocking glasses. I'll put a link in the description for Swanwick ones that my wife and I use and like. But trying to just be off them at least an hour or two before you're going to get into bed, and especially not in bed. If you're using a phone in bed, I think that's a habit that is at the top of the list to consider cutting out for so many reasons. You know, reading, doing other things, finding other ways to, to wind down, and especially to be in bed is important. And then I'm going to add one more in here that I hadn't planned, but I think is worthwhile, is to think about considering, and this is where curiosity comes into kind of experimenting and what works. Some people do really well cutting off food intake like 3 hours before bed. So you have a balanced meal about 3 hours before bed. And for some people, this was like life-changing for me, and definitely sleep-changing, is to have a small balanced snack around a half an hour before you go to bed. There's a lot of different, ways that you could go about doing that. For some people, something like cheese and fruit would be good. I usually have like a cup of raw milk, a little bit of peanut butter, and some raw honey. And, again, there's various ways that you can combine all different kinds of things, but just a small snack to help balance your blood sugar throughout the night, to keep stress hormones, in check, and potentially even lower them at night, depending on certain factors. So think about that. You may be somebody who does well cutting off food a few hours beforehand. If that is what you do and it doesn't work, I think it's worth considering trying a small snack before you go to bed. So that's it for today. I hope that these were helpful takeaways. If you feel like you're in need of, lifestyle help in terms of taking control of your physical health and the underlying lifestyle components that, when properly ordered, can really, really help with, to improve mental health, and when out of order tend to exacerbate and a lot of times even lie at the root of why we experience anxiety, depression, excess stress, lack of energy and motivation. If you feel that that's you, go to risingstronger.com. I have a work with me tab. You can fill out it's kind of like a little questionnaire, but for a free 15-minute, I call it a breakthrough session, we can kind of establish where you're at, see if we'd be a good fit to work together. But that is one of the things that I do, for work. So one-on-one coaching is there. I also have a free guide. I don't know why it never comes to me in this moment, but high mileage foods for mental health. It's my opinion on the best foods, the most nutritious foods that any man should be eating, that is trying to improve and optimize their mental health, improve and optimize their energy levels, to cover all nutritional basis, most nutrient dense foods, and the worst, the ones that oftentimes fly under the radar, that a lot of people miss, that tend to contribute to, mental and physical health issues. So you can check that out. It's a free download on my website. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And remember to subscribe so you catch new videos coming out with information that can help you to improve your life. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.